Hey, welcome back to the CSS. So right now, is this ours? I think so. We're sitting, this is what our this looks like, and our goal is to make it look like this. So we're just missing this little part right here. The try it out yourself is even good. So it's really just these input buttons and then this kind of blank space that we're dealing with. Let's deal with the input first. Now, some of the input parts are the same and some are different. Like this one's red, green, blue, but the text is kind of the same. The size of them are the same. So then I can actually deal with those separately and at the same time. So the things that are the same, and this is all an input, so I can just go input. Things that are the same, they are the same width. So I used 60 pixels when I did it. And if we run that, you should all get smaller. Perfect. Now they also all have the same font family. And I used Courier, there we go. And the font size is also identical. So all of those things can be the same. And let's just take a look at how that looks. There you go. So already much closer to what our end goal is. Awesome. Okay. Well, some other things. So right now, and it kind of seems weird, our text is actually black, but we want white. So if I put white right now, it's going to make it disappear, and I'm okay with that. I'm going to be changing the background color pretty quick here. So we'll do white, and then the last thing is there's a text align on it, just to make it so at least it's centered. There we go. Okay, so now you can't see the text, but it's there and it's centered. Hooray. Now, so all those things are identical, but the one thing that each of them have that's different is what the background color is. So to actually make those their own thing, we need to give them each an ID. And so we're going to go into our HTML code, and for each one, we'll just put an ID. It's not a big deal. So here, ID equals, you can put whatever ID name you want again. I'm going to name them red in. And then for this one, ID equals, what is this, green in. Make sure it's something you remember. And one more, ID equals, this is blue in. Okay, so now that we've identified these as separate, now they are all inputs, so nothing should have changed. Yep, it's all the same still. But now we can actually go back and change each one of them individually as well. So this is going to save us a lot of code, because I could put this for each one, but that's just wasteful. It's going to take longer. It's going to be harder to read that code. So this is an ID, so it can only be used once, the ID. So it's a red in is what we had. And the thing that I want to do is change the background color. I just wanted the background, and I want it to be red. And let's run this. Hey, there we go. Now it looks identical. And so I'm going to do the same thing for the other two as well. So our second one is green. And I want to change this to green. Come here. There we go. So that should, middle one should change to green now. And our final one, let's just change the blue one. And I want that to be blue. Okay. There we go. So now we're looking really similar to what we already have. Just to double check though, let's just take a look and compare. So yeah, pretty much identical. Now just getting this box to kind of show up nicely. So in our box, we named that. Did we name it yet? I don't think so. Nope, we just left an empty paragraph. Okay, so we're going to put an ID in there. We're going to call this our display. Okay, then we're going to go back to our style sheet. And this very blank element, we need to just give the background color for it to make it that. So we're just going to complete our display. And like I said, we want a background. What I want to do is whatever color I displayed on here, so 255, 255.0 is what I'm going to put in there. And to get it to be that color, so it's just going to be RGB. and it's going to say, hey, what color do you want? I want 55, 55, and 0. And that's kind of a disappointment, because right now we have no color showing, like nothing showing. So we got to give this some width. Let's see, width I used was 400 pixels, and let's give it some height, and we'll do that as 200 pixels. Okay, so now we should be able to see something, unless I messed up. There we go, semicolon. Running. What am I missing here? I don't think anything. Width, height, background is good. Maybe first put in a margin as well. It'll show up. So again, I'm going to use auto so it kind of centers itself. There we go. Now it just wasn't running for some reason. It was fine. So let's see. This is ours. This is what we want it to look like. Hey, that looks pretty good. So just looking. This looks good now. This looks good. I think our button is different though. Yes, the button is different. Now, luckily we only have one button, so I don't need to specially name it. I'm just going to call it button. So if I had multiple buttons, this would affect all of them, but I don't. Oh, what do I have in here? Okay, it's gray, so it's mostly just aesthetic things. So just the background is gray. And I think the color of the text I made white then, so it kind of just stands out a little bit. Let's see, that button should be changing. Oh yeah, it already looks better. Now I did do a border radius as well here. Again, it makes it look a little bit nicer. I'm not sure why, but it's just so much nicer. This was just a little one though. It was just 5 pixels. And so now if I run this, play this, oh yeah, that looks way better. Okay, is there anything else that I did to that? Looks like I might have played around with some pad. I don't know. It looks pretty close. You could play around with some padding and stuff. I think it looks fine how it is. Okay, and the very last thing is, okay, so if you look at this link, right now if I hover over it, the line shows up. Right now my line is already there and it's purple because I clicked on it at some point. I don't really like that. So let's look at our hyperlink tag. Again, we only have one, so that's kind of nice. So go to my hyperlink tag. I want to make the color blue. So now it's going to get rid of that default. And I just don't want any text decoration. Meaning if it has been pressed, or it's not being pressed right now, then I don't want anything to show up. So that's that underline part. So here we go. Now if I hover, nothing happens though. Here, the hover, the decoration comes up. So we can add that hover to it. I actually need a separate line here. So A, for what happens when you go over it or hover over it. They have some set commands you can do already. So we can do a text decoration on there. We got rid of the decoration of underlining. Now I'm going to add it back in. So now if I run this and I go over, hey, perfect, it works. Now, let's just double check that everything is good. Looks pretty close to me. And if I hit learn more, it should still go there. Perfect. So now we have a red, green, blue color page.